I'm Mr. Benton. So my three events were Boston Marathon bombing, presidential election, 1992 presidential election, and immigration. The Boston Marathon bombing happened around 2:50 p.m. on April 13th or 15th, 2013, and 5,600 runners were still running, and the bombings were pressure cookers that were held in backpacks, packed with shrapnel, and the bombs exploded within like yards of each other, and within seconds, and they killed people and injured a lot of people. The two guys that killed them were immigrants 10 years ago, so they've been living in the U.S. And one officer said that this exposed all the security post 9/11, because he said no matter how much we prepare for any terrorist attacks, this is the hardest one, and it highlighted the lingering vulnerability, that officer said, because anybody could buy those objects and anybody could make that bomb. So anybody could target that, but the Boston Marathon really was the biggest terrorist attack since 9/11. So my second subject that I have was the 1992 presidential election. It was between Bill Clinton and George Bush, and Ross Perot. He received 19% of popular vote, which is most by any third-party candidate. So Bill Clinton outlasted George Bush by about 5.5 million votes popular votes, and 202 electoral votes. Bill Clinton ended the 12-year reign of the Republican Party, which was huge because they have been most of the people in the government were Republicans. The reason why the third-party candidate was so much was because George Bush was suffering from the weakened economy, and Bill Clinton was involved in a bunch of scandals. So Bill Clinton ended up serving 2 terms from January 20th, 1993 to January 20th, 2001. So my last term was immigration, and immigration was huge before and after 9/11. So before 9/11 in the 1990s, U.S. allowed 700,000 people and increased visas by 40%. So this doubled employment-related immigration, and then after 9/11, they nearly doubled the amount of deportations there were, from 200,000 to 400,000. And the United States also passed this Homeland Security Act, which increased agencies surrounding immigration. This act cost over $500 billion. And they also increased security in airports and international travel, so that there hopefully will be it'll limit the terrorists that come in, or hopefully eliminate all of them. This was huge. So the immigration has gone down since, but because all the securities and acts that were being put into place after 9/11. I'm interviewing John Honor. He's my mom's boyfriend, and he was in the Navy at the time of 9/11. So I'm interviewing him. He's not here right now, but I'm FaceTiming him. So what were you doing on the day of the attack?
All right. Well, like Ty said, I'm John Honor. I actually wasn't in the Navy active duty. I was on reserve, in the reserves at the time. But I was flying for American Airlines. And so I was sitting on a reserve duty in Dallas-Fort Worth at a Red Roof Inn. And my wife called me that morning. She said I better turn on the TV. I turned on the TV, and I saw that the towers had been hit. And so I got a phone call from American not too long after that. They said that I was released from duty, and I drove home, back down to Corpus Christi, Texas. And that's what I was doing when the towers were hit. Actually, I watched the rest of the evolution that morning with the towers coming down and all that stuff, and I drove back in the afternoon. Wow. But as far as being in the Navy, Ty, I was a reservist at the time, flying down in Kingsville, training guys how to fight the Navy fighter jets and stuff.
That's cool. All right, what did you change about your life after 9/11?
It was a pretty abrupt change. At the time, I kind of had an idea that it would happen, but about a week after the towers were hit, I got a letter in the mail from American and a phone call, and they said that I would be furloughed on October 1st of 2001. I was in the first group of guys that were furloughed because I had just been hired by American 6 months prior, and they said I was going to be furloughed on October 1st, 2001, just a few weeks after the towers were hit, and I went back into the Navy on active duty less than a year later. So my whole world was kind of turned upside down. Stopped being an airline pilot and went back into the Navy.
What safety precautions did you take after that day?
Well, the airlines took a lot of safety precautions for sure, but I wasn't flying there anymore. As far as for me, I just went back to life as normal. Before I before I went into American Airlines, I was flying on active duty with the Navy down in Kingsville anyway. I had just gotten out like 6 months prior, so I just went back to my normal business, business as usual, like it was before I went to American Airlines.
Did you go back to the Navy, or were you still in airlines?
I went back to the Navy. I was furloughed from the airlines for 12 years.
What'd you do? What was it like in the Navy, like when the 9/11 hit?
It was, we had heightened security at the bases and that sort of thing, but aside from that, there really wasn't much different. I just went back to training students how to fight it just went back to the same business as usual for me.
And then last question, did you trust the government to ensure safety in you and everyone around you?
Yeah. Well, since I was back working for the government, I trusted the government. Yes, I did, and I knew that George W. Bush was doing the best that he could, and I had full faith in him and our armed services and our local law enforcement, and it was an opportunity for all of us to kind of, just like with the coronavirus today, it's a new normal. We had at the time, that was our thing. We were looking out and for one another and watching each other's backs and reporting anything that looked out of the ordinary. And now, we're dealing with a virus that's taken us by surprise, but we've kind of changed and adapted, and we will overcome this as well, just like we did over 9/11. And even though there have been several terrorist attack attempts since 9/11, they've all been thwarted by the United States government one way or another. And I still have a lot of friends that are working every day in that business, so I'm quite familiar with it.
All right, well, thank you.